Welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to look at Duolingo. Duolingo had a big backlash because of using AI. At least that's what is in everybody's mind. Duolingo had a big backlash because of its policy on AI. At least that's what everybody thinks. It started in May of this year, 2025, when Duolingo said it would go AI first. What meant AI first? It meant that Duolingo was replacing contractors with AI. And this is very important. Contractors replaced with AI. And later on, here's the CEO of Duolingo. The CEO of Duolingo explained that in 2012, they went mobile first. And the term AI first is very similar to mobile first. Except that this company, Duolingo, cannot claim AI first because it's an existing company, because it already has a business model, because it's not disrupting other companies, it's disrupting itself, saying that they were not using AI, everything was human generated, and now they're moving towards using AI to replace some of the contractors' work. That's the huge difference, and that's probably one of the mistakes they made in their communication. They made that analogy between them being on the market mobile first when they were starting as a non-existing company, as a startup, and now becoming AI first, integrating AI in an existing business model. After that, the effects were twofold. One effect, I would say positive effect, they were able, using AI, to cover some of the languages that they didn't cover before. They can teach any language in somebody who speaks English. They can teach a lot of language to somebody who speaks German or French or Spanish, but they couldn't teach Italian to somebody who was speaking Japanese. That's what you see in that small diagram here. The dots that we're adding thanks to AI. Why they didn't invest before into teaching Italian to Japanese speaker? Because it didn't make sense. Because it didn't make economic sense to pay a contractor who is a Japanese native who also speaks Italian to create a course. Now with AI, they had the possibility to cover, I would call them long-tail users, to cover these users who are rare users. And then with AI, it makes sense because it makes economical sense to, I would say, support those underserved niche customers that they couldn't cover before. Now, if this is the headline, I think it's better. I think like all these underserved customers will say, this is great. Unfortunately, that was not the headline. The headline was Duolingo is replacing contractor with AI. And this taps into the fear of AI is going to take my job. But this is reality. The reality is that the most significant thing. But this is reality. The reality is the most significant change they made in their offering was to cover those underserved users who can now enjoy Italian course for Japanese native speaker and all the others. Now, because there was such a backlash, the CEO had to reply. So the CEO has to reply and said that he will gradually stop using contractor to do work that AI can handle. And in another one, they say 10% of the work first, and that is, of course, concerns. Now, after that, the CEO had to issue an official statement. And after that, the CEO had to issue an official statement. So they had to explain that they had to issue an official statement. And after that, the official statement from the CEO was that he was still hiring. Headcount will increase if a team cannot automate more of its work. So they keep hiring. Now you have two kind of language. We're reducing the contractors on one side and we increase the workforce on the other side. Now, is it a bad thing? If you're a contractor, of course, you will feel threatened by AI. But if instead they may hire some of these contractors, there are check and balances. Low added value tasks that were outsourced to contractor are replaced by AI, and then headcounts is increasing, they're still hiring people. This is very difficult to understand and this is very difficult to communicate. Of course, the communication got a little bit complicated and that's where the users come into play. Supposedly, Duolingo lost a lot of users. Because of this communication, people say, that's it, I'm going to stop using Duolingo. Was it big? Was it small? Well, it was big enough to see that in the stock price. The stock price decreased and it's attributed to the backlash. It's attributed to the backlash because they lost some users. They lost more users than in the last few years. They see a decline in the daily average user, that's what the AU means, 5% in the following 2 weeks and another 5% since. Of course, this is hitting the company at the core of its business model. If the users don't like the brand anymore because of all this negative communication, then the stock price is going down and then the analysts, so this is coming from Morgan Stanley, from analysts in a bank. Of course, they don't like the brand. Sales are going down. They cut down the price and the share is going down. Because at the end of the day, all of this is communication to the market. Duolingo is a listed company and what they care about, like every other listed company, are the stock price. And cutting overhead and reducing cost by using AI instead of contractors should be good for their stock price. It should be good for the analyst because the stock market loves a good technology, loves improvement in the bottom line. But the problem is here that the top line is going down. Other analysts here, this is an article from the NASDAQ, also published in August. They're looking at AI and they're looking at the way the gross margin has fell. Again, now looking at the bottom line, there's a 1% decrease year on. And they are saying maybe because AI bills are too high. The computing power, talents, and also acquiring another company. The question is, AI is not supposed to make a company more efficient, more profitable. And then there's a very, very interesting analysis here. Why Duolingo is taking this risk? Because it has been stagnating. They probably cover their market. They're the market leader into language education. So they have been, their growth in daily user is slowing down to a weakest rate since 2022. And Duolingo has to find a second act. They have to do something significant. And AI seemed obvious to them. Is it a bad decision? Is it a bad strategy? Well, the future will tell. And did they completely back down from AI? Not at all. They are still communicating on AI. Here on Duolingo's blog, how Duolingo is using AI, making language learning smarter. They are all these visuals about making language learning smarter, about using AI. This is from a few days ago. This is from 9th of November. I'm recording this on the 20th of November. They're still going out strong. Now, is it a good or a bad strategy for Duolingo to go with AI? Yeah. Again, for a listed company, there is only one truth. The truth is the share price. The dip in April, after the announcement here in May, was actually, you actually cannot see it. There's actually an increase, a huge increase in the stock price. Again, if you're a listed company, this is all you care about, what the analyst thinks about it. Of course, it went down afterwards, setting up towards a share price that was similar to, December of last year. So what is the impact of this new strategy? It seems to be neutral. Yeah. So all this backlash, all the belief that it was a huge mistake, that the user are fleeing Duolingo, it has not been reflected in the stock price. Yeah. Now, this AI and AI first is a strategy. It doesn't open overnight. A change of strategy, such a big shift, will not show result within 2 weeks. And the news cycle is way too short, So calling Duolingo dead and thinking about a backlash just 2 weeks after the announcement is very short-sighted. Strategy takes months, if not years, to show an effect. Now that we are sitting here in November, we can see that it didn't really have a positive or negative impact, The first impact was positive from the announcement because the stock market loves AI and loves the announcement of a technology, but the true response will be maybe in a year. Are they still in the game? Did they find that second win, that second hand of? Did they find that second win? This is where the story will end. So we may cover Duolingo again in the future, because the strategic decision that was very public is still out there, and we'll see the result. Thank you for listening. If you want more analysis of companies going AI first, about good and bad effect, and about what does it mean to integrate AI into the strategy of your company, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in our next episode.